Amaka had always dreamed of her wedding day. The hall sparkled with golden lights, the music pulsed, and laughter filled the air as friends and family danced with abandon. Her gown shimmered with delicate embroidery, her veil cascading like a river of white silk. To everyone watching, she was the happiest bride. Her groom, Chike, stood tall and proud, his smile dazzling as he held her hand and whispered promises of forever. Guests snapped pictures, elders showered them with prayers, and children ran joyfully across the decorated floor. It was the kind of day that young women imagined in their secret diaries. For Amaka, every detail felt perfect: the music, the flowers, the love in the air. She told herself that her life was finally beginning, that her prayers had been answered. She had no idea that this night, her wedding night, the one she had longed for, would change everything forever. The wedding festivities had ended, and Amaka sat nervously on the edge of the bed, waiting. She was dressed in a delicate white nightgown, her heart beating fast with anticipation and innocence. Chike entered quietly, his face no longer radiant but tense. His eyes avoided hers, and his hands trembled as he removed his tie. "Amaka," he whispered, voice heavy, "before we begin this journey, I need to tell you something." Confused, Amaka leaned closer. His words fell like stones in her ears. "I am HIV positive. I should have told you before, but I couldn't." Silence crushed the room. Her heart sank, her breath froze, her eyes widened in disbelief. She thought it was a cruel joke, but his trembling and tears confirmed it. Her dream night shattered in seconds. Her world tilted, betrayal, fear, and anger wrapped around her like a storm she couldn't escape. The morning after, Amaka returned home to her mother's house, disheveled and broken. Her face was pale, her eyes swollen with tears. Her mother gasped when she saw her and rushed forward. "Amaka, my daughter, what happened?" she cried. Amaka couldn't answer. She collapsed on the floor, shaking, her voice barely audible. He deceived me. He has HIV, Mama. He never told me." The revelation spread through the household like wildfire, but silence swallowed everyone. Some relatives whispered about shame, others about endurance. Her mother wept, stroking her daughter's hair, unable to comfort her. The fairy tale was gone. What remained was a painful reality Amaka had never imagined. She felt stripped of her dignity, trapped in vows that no longer carried meaning. How could she love a man who hid such a devastating truth? Her heart hardened, slowly replacing love with deep resentment. Days turned into weeks, and Amaka could no longer look at Chike the same way. Though he tried to assure her, promising to use protection and keep her safe, she recoiled at every touch. Their bedroom turned cold, the sheets untouched. He pleaded, but her body resisted, her mind echoing betrayal. "You lied to me," she would say whenever he came near. He tried to justify himself, that fear held him back, that he didn't want to lose her. But for Amaka, excuses didn't erase the deceit. The foundation of their marriage cracked. Love had died on their wedding night. The house grew silent, the laughter of their courtship gone. Every meal was tense, every glance filled with unspoken anger. Resentment replaced intimacy. Amaka built walls around herself, refusing to be vulnerable to a man she could no longer trust. Chike's patience quickly wore thin. Denied affection, rejected at every advance, he slipped back into the man Amaka had never truly known. His charm turned to cruelty, his voice sharp and belittling. "You're my wife, is this how you repay me?" he spat one evening. He stayed out late, returning smelling of cheap perfume. Rumors swirled about his escapades with other women, reckless and dangerous. Amaka's fear deepened, not just of the disease, but of his carelessness and disregard for her life. Her resentment grew, but so did her helplessness. She felt caged, her marriage transformed into a prison she couldn't escape. Nights became endless battles of silence and suppressed sobs. Each morning, she stared into the mirror, wondering how long she could endure before she completely broke. Amaka stopped confiding in friends. Each time she tried, their words stung. "Be patient," one said. "At least he married you," another added. The worst came from an elder. "Didn't you vow till death? Only death frees a woman from her husband." The words echoed in her soul like chains tightening around her neck. She felt alone, trapped by religion, by expectations, by shame. Her nights were filled with silent tears, her days with forced smiles. She went through the motions, cooking, cleaning, pretending, while her heart screamed for escape. But escape seemed impossible. Every time she thought of leaving, the whispers of disgrace haunted her. So she stayed, her body present, but her spirit slowly fading, lost in a marriage that felt like a sentence. One evening, Amaka sat on the edge of her bed clutching a bottle of pills. Her hands trembled as she thought of ending it all. The weight of betrayal, rejection, and hopelessness pressed her down like a suffocating blanket. She closed her eyes and whispered a prayer, asking God to forgive her. Just as she opened the bottle, her mother entered unexpectedly. The sight froze her mother in shock. "Amaka!" she cried, rushing forward and snatching the pills away. Amaka broke down, sobbing uncontrollably in her mother's arms. "I can't do this anymore, Mama. I can't," she wailed. Her mother wept with her, pleading, "Don't give up, my child. Please, don't let this destroy you." That night, for the first time in weeks, Amaka slept in her mother's bed, her pain temporarily softened by her mother's love. The next morning, Amaka's mother prepared hot tea and sat with her. "Amaka, life is not always as we dream it. But you must live. You must fight," she urged. Amaka shook her head. "How can I fight when I am chained? He deceived me, Mama. I can never love him again." Her mother held her hands tightly. "You don't have to love him, but you must love yourself enough to survive." Those words struck a chord. For too long, Amaka had drowned in despair, forgetting her own worth. She promised her mother she would try, not for Chike, but for herself. Deep inside, a flicker of strength returned, though faint and fragile. She resolved to endure, at least until she found a way out. Returning to her home felt like walking into a cage. Chike had grown even more reckless, flaunting his late nights, sometimes not coming home at all. When he did, his words were sharp, accusing her of failing as a wife. Amaka no longer argued. She kept silent, her eyes empty, her spirit distant. She moved into the visitor's room, slept alone, prayed alone, ate alone. The house was filled with shadows of what was once promised to be love. Neighbors whispered, some pitying her, others mocking. She ignored them all. Her only goal was survival. But deep within, she longed for a day when she could breathe freely, a day when the prison doors of her marriage would finally open. Desperate, Amaka began speaking with women she met at church and in the market. She didn't reveal everything, but enough for them to understand her misery. Some shook their heads, whispering about endurance. One elderly woman pulled her aside and said to her again, "Only death of the husband can free a wife completely from such a marriage." The words cut her deeper than a knife. Was that her only way out, death? She returned home, the weight heavier than before. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Her eyes were hollow, her smile forced. The prison was swallowing her whole. Weeks later, on a quiet afternoon, Amaka went to a supermarket. She pushed her trolley slowly, her mind still heavy, As she reached for a tin on the top shelf, a hand reached before hers, gently taking it down. "Allow me," a deep voice said. She turned, startled. Before her stood a man, tall, handsome, well-dressed, with a calm confidence that radiated. His eyes held warmth, and his smile was disarming. "I'm sorry if I startled you," he said politely. Amaka managed a faint smile, something she hadn't done in months. For the first time in a long while, her heart skipped. She didn't know it yet, but this simple encounter would change everything. His name was David. He was wealthy, successful, but carried himself with humility. They chatted briefly, nothing beyond pleasantries, but Amaka left the supermarket with her spirit strangely lifted. She couldn't stop replaying his smile, his voice, his presence. It had been so long since she felt seen, noticed, alive. At home, she sat on her bed, holding on to that memory like a fragile treasure. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was hope, a reminder that her story wasn't finished. That night, for the first time in months, she dreamed not of sorrow, but of possibility. Amaka began visiting the supermarket more often, half hoping to see David again. One afternoon, their paths crossed once more. This time, he asked about her, where she lived, what she did. She hesitated, guarded, but found herself drawn to his sincerity. Their conversations were light, but they carried a weight that reminded Amaka of who she used to be before betrayal consumed her. David's confidence and kindness stirred something deep inside her. She began to smile more, to dress a little brighter, to feel alive again. Though her marriage remained a cage, she now carried a spark of hope that whispered, "There is more to life than pain." Amaka now lived in two worlds, the dark prison of her marriage, and the bright possibility she felt whenever she thought of David. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew she couldn't remain in despair forever. Chike continued his reckless ways, blind to the changes stirring in his wife's heart. Amaka felt torn, standing at the crossroads of duty and survival, shame and freedom, fear and love. Each day, she prayed for clarity, for courage, for strength to choose herself without destroying everything around her. One morning, Amaka stood before her mirror. For the first time in months, she saw not just a broken woman, but a survivor. Her scars were deep, her wounds raw, but she was still standing. She thought of her wedding night, of the betrayal, of the prison she endured, but also of her mother's words, of Mercy's hope, and of David's smile. Life was far from perfect, but it was not over. She whispered to her reflection, "I will not give up. I will live." With quiet strength, she stepped into the morning light, her heart carrying both pain and hope, ready for whatever tomorrow would bring. But what do you think Amaka should do? Stay and endure, or find the courage to leave and start anew? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you were moved by this story, don't forget to like this video and encourage others to watch. If you are new here, kindly subscribe to the Echoes of Old for more powerful stories rooted in real struggles. Stay tuned, because the concluding part of Amaka's journey is coming soon.